Please.
Okay. Mayor Margo, I know you're present. Antonio Araujo. Representative Ávila. Cesar Blanco? Oh, okay. I have a message.
Yeah, present. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Representative Rivera-Zahn also, ma'am.
Joseph Cervantes. Frank Doolittle.
I'm here.
Art Fierro. Here somewhere?
Present.
Okay. Mary Gonzalez,
Present.
Tommy Gonzalez,
I'm here.
Yvette Hernandez, Yvette Hernandez. Raimundo Lara, Manuel Leo,
Present.
Cecilia Zárraga,
Present.
McMahon,
I'm here.
Marisol.
Walter Miller,
Sorry, Walter. Don't mean to interrupt you. Marisol, this is Yvette Hernandez. I'm here.
okay.
Marisol, I don't know if you, for sure if you called my name, but I'm here.
Okay, yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Joe Moody,
Present.
Sam Morgan, Esteban Olivas, Lina Ortega,
Present.
Norma Palacios,
Present.
Javier Perea,
Present.
Henry Rivera,
Present.
José Rodríguez, René Rodríguez,
Here, present.
Sam Rodríguez,
Here.
Benjamín Romero, Judge Samaniego,
5,000 of them, and then 900 of them are people. It specifically references the fact that they didn't vote. That would work.
Okay. Yeah, I can work on drafting that up, and then I think what we'll have to do is
Can you please mute all microphones and ask that members just unmute when they speak?
so I was on Judge Samaniego, Ellen Smith,
I'm here. It's Smythe, Ellen Smythe.
mine,
Uh-huh.
Tomás Treviño,
I am here.
Mayor Trujillo, and that should be it.
Okay.
Chair Perez, did he?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Here.
Oh.
All right. The time is 9:10. This is a meeting of the Transportation Policy Board for the Metropolitan Planning Organization. The first item of business is the open comment period.
So, good morning, Mr. Chair. This morning, I believe the only comment that we have is, it's a little unusual, but a tenant requested that to make a presentation on this program, the HERO program. It's not posted on the agenda, but we thought it was a good opportunity for them to talk about this, and perhaps I don't know if the presentation is going to take more than the 3 minutes that is typically allowed for public comment, but hopefully we can get more time from the board members so that they can complete the presentation.
Move to suspend the rule.
Second.
I move to suspend the 3-minute rule.
I'll second that. There's a motion and a second by Alderman Miller, seconded by myself. Are there any objections to suspending the rules, particularly the 3-minute period for public comment so Texas can give this presentation? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. You can proceed with the presentation.
Good morning, board members. Blanca Serrano with Texas here in El Paso. Brian, if I can have you go to slide 3, please. This is a very small presentation of a program that we just got started. Back in 2016, TxDOT came before you guys, asking you guys for approval on some funding for a project. You know, major construction projects were getting underway throughout the city. We saw an added need to add safety to the traveling public as well as first responders. Traffic, you know, was becoming very critical. Congestion was becoming very critical during the construction periods. And so we saw a need to get something out there to help out the public. And so therefore, this is where the HERO program came in. This is a program that the department had in place a few years back. And unfortunately, with economic problems, you know, we ended up having to discontinue the program. And it's been a little over 10 years since it was out there. Back then, it was known as a Safety Service Patrol. It was branded towards the end of the program as a HERO program, which is called the Highway Emergency Response Operator Program. When the funding was approved by you guys, by the board, we ended up coming and starting a procurement for the program again. When we realized it was going to take a little longer for us to be able to procure the program faster, we decided to go ahead and implement a towing service in the interim while the program was funded. We ran a towing service during peak hours, which we did come in and present to you guys a couple years back. For a little over a year and a half, we ran it during peak hours, just in the morning from 4 to 9, in the afternoons, in the morning from 6 to 9, in the afternoons from 4 to 7. And it seemed to be pretty popular with people out there. Anytime we also saw any vehicles abandoned on the interstate, since we needed to have our safety lanes clear, we would go out there and remove the vehicles before every shift started. Fast forward to right now. This is where we are. We are here to present to you guys the HERO program. If you can go to the next slide, please. The program started off this Monday. We actually started off a little bit ahead of time. We were originally supposed to go live on July the 1st. Our vendor was able to get us working a little sooner. And so therefore they started operations this past Monday. This is a Safety Service Patrol. Like I said, it's going to be for motorists and the travel, you know, who are traveling the major highways and throughout the district, throughout the county actually. And it's going to be working from Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. Those were usually the hours that our traffic management center was open. Now they're operating a little longer, but we figured these are the major hours. Usually the traffic starts picking up about 6 in the morning. So we figured that would be the good time for them to start working. And then it starts dying off a little after 7. So 8 p.m. was a good time for them to stop on this. What the program will have 6 tow trucks per shift. There'll be 5 patrol trucks out there, and there will be 1 supervisor on patrol during the entire day. And there will be that 1 supervisor will be at different areas, different of the highways throughout the patrol areas. If you can go to the next, please. And this is what the services that they will be providing. The services that they'll provide will be emergency traffic control for incidents. Anytime there's an incident, they will be out there and setting up cones to safeguard the area wherever the incident is. We'll be clearing out debris. Usually a lot of debris is left out there whenever there's any incidents. So we'll be out there clearing out the debris from the incidents. You'll be assisting law enforcement as they used to in the program before when we had it in operation. They'll be assisting the law enforcement with non-injury accidents out there, with minor non-injury accidents. And also, you know, we see this as a need. It's going to help out in reducing the secondary crashes. There's usually secondary crashes a lot of the times when there's major incidents out there. And this will help us to avoid as many of those accidents as possible. They'll be out there removing stranded motorists and any stranded vehicles from the roadways. They're going to be either on the travel lane. Sometimes the cars will just break down on the travel lane. You don't have time to move off to the shoulder. So therefore, they will be removing the vehicles that are stranded from there. They'll be out there providing gas, diesel, and water to any motorist that's needed out there. If you happen to run out of gas, they'll provide enough gas to be able to get you out of the interstate, out of the whichever major highway you're in, and into an area where you can go out there and refuel your vehicle. They'll provide jump starts. If your battery happens to die while you're driving, they'll be able to provide jump starts to your vehicle. They'll do minor vehicle repairs. Any vehicle repair that takes, no more than 15, 20 minutes. If it's something simple that they can do, These guys are fully trained to be able to help you with minor vehicle repairs. They will also provide cell phone use. If somebody happens to either have a run out of battery on their phone or something, they need a cell phone, they'll be able to provide cell phone use to any of the stranded motorists. They'll also be providing water in the event that you have no water, and they'll have water available for any of the motorists. If you can go to the next, please. This is our fleet. This is what the fleet consists of. The fleet consists of the total of 13 trucks, 2 of which it's a regular 11 trucks that'll be patrol trucks. Also additional will be tow trucks. This is something very particular to the El Paso program. All the other programs have a regular patrol trucks. Our service also has 2 patrol trucks. These trucks will be able to get out there, since we saw that the towing service was very popular and it worked really well. We saw a need to bring in the trucks, and it really didn't make that much of a difference as far as the cost goes. So we said, why not? Let's bring in a couple of tow trucks. And these tow trucks will be driven by the supervisors. They will be the ones in those tow trucks. Anytime one of the patrol trucks is out there and they realize that they need to remove the vehicle because the vehicle is just not operable, they'll be coming along and they'll be helping out that service patrolman and moving them out of the roadway. Like I said, there'll be 2 shift supervisors. We also decided to go ahead and create an area on there for 2 dispatchers. We know our guys at Transvista are very busy. They're very busy controlling all the cameras throughout the systems. So therefore, we decided to go ahead and have 2 dispatchers. They'll be completely dedicated to this program alone. Anytime anything happens, their eyes will be only on managing the program, and that's all they'll be doing out there, dispatching our operators to whatever incident they need to be dispatched to. This is a really neat program because what the vendor decided to do when they came on board, they're not a local vendor, but what they did, they went ahead and came in and they hired all local people. All of the people running the program right now are either retired emergency responders, retired military, retired oil field staff. We have a couple of retired people from the fire department. So these are people that are very local. They're very familiar with the area, and they know exactly how El Paso works. If you can go to the next, please. This shows you the roadways that we're patrolling. Unlike the previous program only patrolled the I-10 area, and it was just limited to I-10. Well, we see the need that all of our roadways are getting very busy now. So we decided to go in there and patrol I-10 from Trans Mountain to Horizon Boulevard. We're also patrolling Loop 375 from I-10 West, which is just towards the end of the mountain, coming all the way to Santa Fe. We're missing that little portion, which is the portion that will eventually be tolled. So that area, that's the only one area that we're now going to be patrolling. We're also going to be patrolling US 54 from McCombs to Loop 375. The way the routes are going to work, there will be 2 patrol trucks on I-10, 2 patrol trucks on 375, and 1 on 54. If we see that there's a need, of course, there's always going to be an area where they might have to end up helping out. We might end up moving them into here and there within the patrol areas, but there will always be 2 on each one of the really big areas and 1 on 54 patrolling. You can go to the next, please. And these are the roles and responsibilities of our program out there. Their main responsibility is to assist the motorist, and of course, at the same time, assist the first responders, assist in any incident response. And this is where you guys can reach them. We decided, they'll be dispatching from Transvista, which is our traffic management center at our district headquarters. And this is a number to call. If you guys are ever in need of it, we hope that you're not, but if you are, this is where you guys can reach them. It's going to be 790-HERO, which is 4376, 790-4376. And I hope you guys really enjoy the program. We hope that you don't have to use it, but if you are ever in need of it, they'll be out there to help anybody out. And we're looking forward to seeing how the program works. And this is where I make my pitch to you guys. We're going to be running some metrics for the next year or so to see how the program is accepted by the public and by everybody out there. And I'll be looking to coming back to you guys for a little bit of extra push here, because the program right now is only funded for the first 2 years of operation. So here it is, my presentation. Oh, there's also a video available. We have a virtual tour of the trucks. If you guys are interested, the video was a little long for us to show to you guys right now. But if you're interested at the end of the meeting, we'll be more than happy to share it with all of you guys. I think Eduardo's team can go ahead and send it to you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Question, Mr. Chair.
I'm not sure, Sergio, since this item is public comment, are we allowed to take questions from the TPB?
Chair, Sergio Estrada here for the record. That's actually a really good question, and the answer is is no. Since this is a public a presentation that was given during the public comment, we should really just abstain from any additional conversation or questions. And if the board itself deems that greater conversation is merited, we can always post it on a future agenda.
Paul, I'm sorry to the TPB members. This item was submitted late to the agenda, so it didn't make the 72-hour period. But if we need further discussion on this item, we can always put it on next month's agenda. Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation. So we'll move on to discussion and action items. The first item is to approve the minutes for the May 22nd, 2020 TPB meeting. The minutes are there in your backup. If there's any questions or errors, please let us know. If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Who made the motion?
Rivera, Representative Rivera.
Miller.
Chair? Excuse me, Chair?
Yes?
Just a quick reminder to all the board members that whenever they speak during the course of the meeting, they are required to turn on their video feed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so there was a motion made by Representative Rivera, seconded by Alderman Miller. Are there any members of the TPB who oppose the approval of the minutes? Any abstentions? Motion passes. The next discussion and action item is to approve the recommendations from the Transportation Project Advisory Committee regarding the June 2020 Project Readiness Report.
Good morning, Greg McNichol, Chairman of the Transportation Project Selection Committee, the TPAC, sorry. We have, obviously this is the June report of the project status readiness report. I'll give you an overview real quickly and then we'll go through it in detail. There are 2 projects in a low category, 1 project in a medium, and 12 they're showing up in a high category, but of 11 of the 12 are projects that are tied to the RMS 2020. And so they're not, these are just high profile projects, not high concerns. That leaves only 1 that's got a concern on it, and we will touch base on that one. I want to also add that this recommendation came out of the TPAC committee that we try working with the MPO office to establish a different way to identify these RMS projects because they are very important to us, but at the same time, that doesn't mean they're necessarily in high alert as in trouble. And so we're going to look to develop a different mechanism to identify those high priority RMS projects. Okay. So with that, we'll move on. If any questions or comments on that first. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to, we'll go to the first low category one. Again, this is a low one, as it states here, and I'm, sorry, the comments. Low alert due to the construction progress of the ECD of the December 2020. Okay, so again, this is a low alert, just making sure the project's moving forward. No other comment or concern that we had. I'm going to move on to the next one. This is a high alert. This is at the end of the day, this is one of the RMS projects. Okay, otherwise it's moving fine. No other concerns. The next one is a low alert. Again, this one is an MPO comment. It's coordinating with the STIP team to see how to deprogram the project before the end of 2020. This is actually a university project. There's been a lot of complications that have arisen out of this project, so we're in the process of trying to reprogram that money. All right. The next one is a high priority project because it's an RMS project. Otherwise, there's no other concerns with this one. The next one is a high priority. Again, this is an RMS project. Just wanted to make sure it's that we focus on it to make sure it meets our regional mobility strategies. The next one, again, is another high alert because it's an RMS project. The next page has 3 projects on it, or all the projects listed, all 5. 4 of the 5 are RMS projects. And so they are fine. If you go to the second from the bottom, or the 4th one down, this is the one that I think many of us are very familiar with. This is a high alert due to conformity. This is the one that's tied to the Loop 375 and the relocation of some utility lines. That's requiring the vendor to also work with Fort Bliss, causing just a delay in the project in general. This is, again, why we are in the process of revising our MTP so that we stay, actually, we're going to extend the conformity as it relates to this one project. So this is the only high priority project. And again, I think we're all very familiar with it. I'm going to move on to the next one then. This is a medium alert. This is due to the PS&E and the district review still at 0% with the let date forthcoming, okay? This is a New Mexico DOT project and it's on schedule. So this is it's the way we classify the project, it's showing up as a medium, but it is moving forward. The next one is a red project. It's an RMS. So this one, again, it's a high priority project. The one following that is another high priority project. That's RMS again. And then the last one is another high alert. And again, this is an RMS. I know this has been a really quick review going over these. Overall, I think the program's in really good shape. All the projects are moving forward, probably with the exception of one which we are addressing. Are there any questions? And we recommend it to you for approval.
Any questions from members of the TPB? So you
question,
all are,
Chair.
who's had the question?
Representative Rivera.
Okay. Representative Rivera.
On page 12 regarding the Rojas Drive widening to Bill Burnett.
I'm good in there.
Yes, sir. The high alert.
Okay.
Is there has it been submitted? Has the review been done on it?
This is a City of El Paso project. If I may, I'm going to actually it says Marty Boyd, so it's a text dot.
Okay. And
respond to it.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Chair, if I can address that.
Yes.
Yeah, Rojas is a project that that is by the City of El Paso.
City of El Paso, right.
But it's part of RMS, and that's a reason why it was flagged as red high alert. The project is moving forward in the early stages. I know that the city is procuring a consultant to start the design, but they're also waiting on the agreements, the advanced funding agreements to be executed. So, right now the project is moving forward, but it's going through the more bureaucratic process right now. Once the agreement gets executed, the engineer can start full blast and to make sure that the project moves forward and lets on time.
So everything is on schedule then.
Right. Now, I do have to say that this project, because it's scheduled to let next year in fiscal year 21, the schedule is very tight on this one. So yeah, we're going to be tracking this one very, very closely. This one in particular, because the letting is next year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just add to what Chair McNichol just stated, the fact that right now in this version of the report, the RMS 2020 projects were flagged as high alert just because of the fact that they are RMS, not because there are issues with project development. So for the next round of the report, we are going to continue flagging the RMS, but not necessarily as a red alert. Maybe we'll just, highlight them or do something else to showcase that they are RMS 2020 projects, but not necessarily, with high alert unless they start running into actual, problems in terms of the schedule.
Right. Because this was intended to distinguish those that were in danger of not meeting timelines. So, I mean, I guess there would be a separate mechanism to make that alert, right? Do you know when that'll be presented to the TPB for, I guess it's not something we have to approve, but I guess when so members can become familiar with what's RMS and what's something to be, will it be available by next month? Or
actually, we'll be addressing that in fact, I believe, the next item number 3, the reporting mechanism specifically for RMS projects. But as far as the readiness report, for the next version of the readiness report, which is something that we do on a quarterly basis, we'll certainly have that change in effect.
any questions for members of the TPB? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Representative Rivera.
I'll second Walter Miller.
Second by Alderman Miller to approve the June 2020 project readiness report. Are there any members who are opposed to this item? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman McNichol. Okay. On to reports, Eduardo.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so moving on to item 3 with starting the reports, the Regional Mobility Strategy RMS 2020 project development. So as we were discussing in the item before, one of the things that we have mentioned to the policy board in the past is that for RMS 2020 projects, we really want to focus to make sure that these projects are moving forward, through the development process and making sure that the letting is on time. We don't want to be moving these projects, from one fiscal year to another. And again, to show, especially to show, the Texas administration and others that when we commit to projects, we can do the job, get it done on time. So what we're showing you is well, first of all, that's the map that you've seen before, the RMS map showing all the projects. Next, please, Brian. The next slide shows you the summary funding table that you've seen before, but of course now all of it is using the RMS 2020 color scheme and logos and all that. So you've seen that, but the new elements are what you will see on the next slide, which is a way that we're going to be reporting for each project. We are going to be tracking all of the activities for as part of the development process. So for each line represents a project. So you see columns there for environmental, for schematic, for PS&E, right-of-way acquisition, and so on. So every month we'll be reporting to you the degree of progress for each project and for each individual activity. Right now, this is just a template. We haven't filled it out, but you will see from month to month if there has been progress in terms of, again, environmental documentation or agreements and so on. And this will be done on a monthly basis. The readiness report that you just approved on item number 2 is done on a quarterly basis. And so, obviously there will be overlap on the RMS 2020 projects that appear on the readiness report, but this will be provided as a report to you all on a monthly basis. Again, showing the importance for these projects. And then finally, the final slide that we want to show you on this is a schedule. This is a simplified schedule, but again, for every single project, we intend to show a very aggregate schedule of all the activities and tracking progress towards the letting date. So again, this is just the template. We're going to be working very hard starting this month, so that next month we can show you the actual information for each individual project using this format. So with this is just an information item for you all, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members? Representative Rodriguez.
Yes. My questions is that I don't know if anybody else in the municipalities are going to have a problem with any future projects that are going to be let out because of the coronavirus. So have we thought about that? Or have we looked at maybe possibility some of these projects might not come because of the funding?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but are we concerned that because of COVID-19, some projects may be delayed or may not let in time?
Yes, because you know how you said prior that we needed to see so that we can stop moving projects from year to year because of the let date, but funding should be talked about as well, because some municipalities, because of funding, there might be a possibility that some of these projects might be pushed back. What's going to happen if that happens?
Well, of course, the board has the final word on what to do with these projects, right? But we're going to do everything we can and work with all the stakeholders involved in these projects to make sure that they move forward. As far as specifically because of COVID, honestly, I haven't seen any reason for concern in terms of all of us not being able to move forward with our work and leading to progress for the projects. Of course, there's always a coordination that needs to happen, and the funding agreements, and it's a sequence, right? The funding agreements require that the projects are added to the STIP. So as you know, it's the sequence of events that need to happen, right? But as far as specifically because of COVID, I haven't seen any reason to concern specifically of that projects may be slow. But that's why it's so important to be tracking these on a monthly basis to make sure that if there are issues that that we identify them as early as possible and address them so that they do not get to delays for the project.
Yeah, because if we're talking on the issues of delays, we face some delays, and not on our end, but those are things that we need to address. Is that we need a good line of communication, because some of our projects are being held up for some of the reasons that are out of anybody's control. So I just wanted to make sure that we should have an open line with all of the people involved with our projects. That's all I got to say.
Right. Will do.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? You know what you can also do is enter if you all have or want to get called on in the chat box. It'll also help make it easier if anyone has any questions, and I'll call on you.
All right. So can we move forward then to item 4, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
All right. So item 4 is RMS 2050 MTP status. This is a presentation that Roger Williams will give to you all. So, Roger.
Good morning. This is Roger Williams, El Paso MPO. So just to remind everybody, we've started the development of the update of the long-range transportation plan, the RMS 2050 MTP. What I'm going to highlight here today is the online visioning meetings. We have already launched the on-demand workshop, started this last Sunday. It'll run through the next month, July the 19th. And we also have some upcoming meetings that will be also done online, but there'll be live meetings Wednesday, July the 8th from 5:30 to 7. MPO staff will host a meeting there where the community can get with MPO staff for specific issues and questions that they might have. And then there'll be another one on July the 13th from 1:30 to 3. We've had pretty good success with these visioning, or I should say online public involvement meetings. So this is a continuation of what we've already been doing since we've been in the situation with COVID-19. We have the on-demand workshop currently where participants can provide their feedback in the official record by taking the workshop. It takes not too long, a pretty short time period, but once you start it, you need to complete it. It'll take you through several exercises that'll allow you to give your feedback. And if you would rather not do the workshop, once you get into the workshop, there'll also be a survey there that'll be available to you, and it'll be focused on specific questions that'll also allow you to provide your feedback through that mechanism if you would rather do it that way. So we've tried to give the public multiple opportunities to give comments early in the process of developing the next long-range transportation plan. We'll be doing public involvement throughout this time frame. The plan won't actually come back to the policy board for final approval for a while. It'll be early in 2022 when that happens. But over the course of that time, we'll be developing needs assessments for the plan. We'll be going through multiple different types of analyses and scenarios for development. Just to remind everybody, there's a project call out right now. It's been out for a while. It will close Monday, this coming Monday. So all the entities that are submitting projects, you need to get your projects into us. And also, we're going to ask our stakeholders to assist us. We've reached out to the region, but we're going to ask stakeholders soon to forward on announcements that we'll be sending to you. We'll have these announcements on our social media websites, and it's something that could also, if you would take those announcements and pass it on to your constituents and to your outreach list, that would be very helpful. We're really trying to make sure that we get the message out there so that everybody knows what's going on, especially as it relates to these online workshops. So with that said, I'll be happy to address any questions. This is just a brief update on where we're at right now and the visioning for the new long-range 2050 plan, RMS 2050 MTP.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, this Eduardo, just one comment, highlight what Roger just said, that we've been getting questions about how are we going to disseminate the information that these public meetings are available. So Roger, if you want to just repeat all the different ways that we are letting the community, the public know that these meetings are happening.
Well, we've Eduardo's already done, I think, an interview with some of the media, and that'll be one of the mechanisms. We're also we've put advertisements in the local papers, English and Spanish. We have a very good distribution list. We've reached out to many of those folks already in the region. We'll be using social media. We've got it on our webpage. We'll also, like I said, be asking for assistance in reaching out through our stakeholders. These online meetings, virtual meetings, have been very good so far. We did one back when we did the public involvement for the amended 2045 Destino MTP. So there's a continuous where we remind everybody that this is ongoing. And it's, we don't want to just put the message out there and then forget about it. So we're going back and forth, and I'm a contact for point of contact for that. If anybody out there has any specific questions, please call the main number, and we've put all this information out there too as well. And my email address is available. So we're trying to piggyback on other public involvement and those kind of things. So as much as we can, we're trying to do everything we can to get that message out there.
So we strongly encourage board members or staff and the public, whoever's watching this through live stream, to go to the website and participate in these workshops, and also give us your feedback. This is really the first time that we do these virtual type of workshops. We have an English version, a Spanish version as well with audio. I think it looks and sounds pretty good, but any comments that you have, or any issues or problems that you may have in navigating through it and all that, please let us know so that we can try to fix them as soon as possible. But again, we encourage you to visit and more importantly, to provide your input, all the stuff that we're asking the public about visioning, about what it is that we would like to see in the next 25, 27 years. So we encourage you for that.
It's really important early in the process to get your input. We have to do public involvement throughout, and there's some required public involvement towards the end. But by that time, it's kind of late to start changing things. But here at this stage, your input is very important, because we're going to bring that back into how we look at the priorities for the development of the projects in the plan. So it really is the opportunity for the public's voice to be heard and incorporated into the
Question, Mr. Chair.
Who's that?
Representative Rivera.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I might have missed it, but did you mention when this plan will go to TPAC for recommendation and then subsequently to TPB for approval?
Right. We can put up the schedule there, but the actual approval for the document itself will be in February of 2020.
I'm sorry, somebody has their mic open and drowning you out.
Okay. The actual approval, and Brian, if you go down to that second page there, and you can see the on the schedule, and this is a very detailed schedule. I know there's a lot of information here, but you see the little black box with TPB 3 times there. You'll see what that is it's February of 2022. It takes a long time to develop a long-range plan, but that's where the anticipated target is for bringing the plan, the conformity, and the update to the tip at the same time. So we'll be asking for policy board approval and TPAC recommendation in February of 2022.
Thank you very much, sir, for your response.
Sir.
Okay. And just a reminder, please keep your mics on mute if you're not speaking, so we don't get any sound or other feedback. Any questions or comments? Well, thank you, Roger. Thank you, Eduardo, for all your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then let's move on to item number 5, the Delphi process for the 2050 travel demand model. This again will be presented by MPO staff and consultants. Salvador Gonzalez from our staff will give a brief introduction. So go for it, Sal.
Good morning, everybody. Salvador Gonzalez Ayala, Manager for Travel Research and Model Development here at the MPO. This is a presentation on an update for our TDM development and specifically on the Delphi process. Right now, the main focus of our TDM work has been focusing on the demographics. And as you know, demographics is perhaps the most important input to our travel demand model. So we've been putting a lot of effort and care on this part of our work. To help me present this, I have also here Mr. Jim Harvey. He's from Alliance Transportation Group. He's one of our consultants. They're one of our consultant teams. And well, I'll let him speak, but just briefly, just to say that last week we had our kickoff meeting for the Delphi, and we had close to 80 participants on this meeting. Some of you, actually some of the members of the PPB were there, but for the benefit of everybody else, I'll let Gene speak more to it. So Gene, if you're there.
Yes, thank you, Sal. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. As Sal said, the Delphi process took place a week ago yesterday on the 11th, and we had the kickoff meeting for the panel. We had excellent attendance. Virtually everybody that was invited attended. Where we are in the overall process is we're kind of up in that upper right-hand corner where we're getting ready to provide feedback to the participants of what they gave us in the meeting and how we interpret it to make sure that we got it right. So the next slide, please. So we did a poll of the participants to get an idea of who was present in the meeting, and the largest proportion, of course, were public sector employees or professionals, but we had a good representation from the private sector and non-governmental organizations, et cetera. So we had a nice distribution of participants. Next slide. We asked them a little bit more about the disciplines that they were, where their expertise was, and the distribution was pretty good. We had, again, government was very well represented, people in planning, business, but very importantly, we had representation in all of the major categories that we were trying to identify. We had 2 representatives representing the military, so that's great because Fort Bliss has such a strong impact on population and employment growth in the region. And some representatives across the spectrum for natural resources and other things, especially several folks who professionally do demographic research and population employment forecasts. So they'll all be very helpful to the process. Next slide. We also asked everyone to give us an idea of their familiarity with the area. We broke the area up into 12 sub areas, and asked them which areas they were the most familiar with. This is a really good distribution. We had representation of people who knew about these various sub areas across the spectrum. The one area, we only had one area that 5 people said they were familiar with, but 5 is a good representation. That gives us enough input to understand things about that region that we might not know otherwise. Next slide, please. And then we also asked them to look at the factors that affect growth and give us their top pick. We essentially gave each participant the ability to pick the top 5 to 7 ones that they thought were most important. And what you're seeing here is the consensus of the group, at least on a first round. We'll reinforce this in later rounds, but the consensus at this point was that the most important factor was employment opportunity. It was at like 83%. Housing costs was very important. And then relevant to this organization, the improvement to local transportation system was a very high priority in the eyes of the group. It came in third. Fourth was cross-border commerce, and then there were several items kind of tied around fifth. Property taxes, new industry, schools, and available services to support development. So we got a really good idea of the factors that your local leadership and experts, the professionals in this community, see as being the things that are driving growth in the region. So we'll be taking that into consideration as we move forward. Next slide, please. We also broke the group up. As Sal said, we had about 80 participants. So we broke the groups up into breakout sessions of about 12 people. And we talked about the opportunities for growth, the places where maybe new industry was coming in or new developments were happening, or new utilities were being put in place, or constraints on an area. You might have an area that had protected lands or had drainage issues or other things that would dampen the ability of that area to grow. And they discussed those in small groups of about 10 to 12 people and gave us feedback on that. And then we're going to share all of that information with the groups across the board when we go into subsequent sessions. Next slide. You can actually skip ahead another one because I've kind of covered both of those. Okay, so the Delphi panel process is a structured communication process where we try and work with the participants to build consensus. And the reason it's so powerful is because it helps us to understand how the future might be different from just what has happened in the past. So we're going to be asking them in a series of 2 to 3 follow-up sessions, first off, to verify that we've got the information they've given us so far correct, and then also to help us allocate the population and employment forecasts for the region, the control totals for the region that were developed for us by the Texas and New Mexico demographic centers, to help us allocate those to the sub areas and get an understanding of the distribution of how that control total should be distributed across the region based on the factors, the growth factors that we talked about earlier, and then the opportunities and constraints that they've given us. And we'll go through maybe 3 more online sessions with them, actually allocating things and answering questions that we need clarification on as we go through the process. And then when they're done with that, we'll publish those results to them so they can verify that we got it right, and then also present those findings to the MPO for your review and consideration, as we go forward into doing the more technical analysis of forecasting the population and employment forecasts to the traffic analysis zones in your model, and we'll do that using TPMP's established practices and protocols. And that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you, Jim. I just wanted to underline the fact that all of this was done through the web. It was a challenge. When this started, the COVID started. We're not sure if we were going to be able to do this, and so fortunately enough, the technology is there, and the participants were quite involved, and so that and this is very important to keep the interest of the stakeholders, and so far so good. So with that, would be really happy to answer any questions the group might have.
Okay. Any questions from TPB members? I'm trying to look at everyone who's on camera to see you. Again, if you have any questions, you can also put them in the chat box, and I'll call on you.
Mr. Chair, just to add what Salvador and Jim Harvey just stated, for those that are participating on this one, we really encourage you to continue participating. Again, the demographics are one of the most important pieces of our travel demand model. And as you know, we use the travel demand model to do a lot of the analysis, related to future needs, congestion, and stuff like that. So, we encourage everybody to continue participating. It is very important. And again, just to emphasize and stress the fact that this is the first time that we do a kickoff meeting for this Delphi group virtually. And again, I think the software, the platform that the consultants use to execute that, it's not perfect, but I think everybody is, we're all getting more used to using these type of computer systems and to participate, and hopefully we'll get good feedback and good information so that we can have the best set of demographics for our travel demand model.
Yeah, Salvador, this is Jim again. We were very encouraged because when we had the breakout sessions, we were, the groups were engaged in the discussion on the opportunities and constraints, and it's always a good sign when you've got a group and you say, okay, well, we're going to wrap up now, and almost all of the groups came back and said, oh, no, we want more time. We're really rolling well, and we're getting good information. So that level of engagement was very encouraging. We hope it continues.
Yes, and at least we thank you for that. At least we have 2 more web sessions programmed, but if necessary, again, if the stakeholders think that we need more, we'll organize more. Thank you.
Sure.
There are no other questions or comments. We move on to the next.
So then let's move on then to item 6, which is a 2021 Unified Transportation Program. This item we keep putting it here as a placeholder, hoping to have new information to present or to provide to you all, but we're still on hold. We have not received any new information yet as far as the fiscal year 21 UTP. So we have the same information that we presented to you at several months. What we do know is that the fiscal year 21 UTP, the draft, is going to be presented to the commission on June 25th. That's their meeting next Thursday. It's already on the agenda, but we haven't really seen anything new as far as funding levels for the 12 categories. And of course, we're very anxious to see if what the category 12, the strategic priority list of projects, what comes out. So unless you all have any questions, that's all I have on this item.
Any questions? TPB members.
Just one more thing, Mr. Chair. So in the June 25th TTC meeting, in addition to the UTP presentation, there's also another presentation looking into the fiscal year 22 and 23 legislative appropriation request for TxDOT. So, these two items, I think, there's a lot of relationship between them. And as we know, the fiscal years 22 and 23 may be impacted because of COVID and the impact that it's had on some of the most important funding sources for TxDOT. Again, I don't know if especially our state delegation, if you all have anything related to that may be relevant to comment at this point.
Excuse me, Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. When would we typically get this report, and have we heard why it's delayed?
Well, according to the original schedule, if you're talking about the fiscal year 21 UTP, the original schedule that was presented in January called for the draft to be presented to the commission last month in May. But because of the issues that the TxDOT had with their systems, that was delayed from May to June. Again, that's to present to the commission the draft UTP. They still have to go through a public comment period. And Brian, can you go down to the next slide to show the dates? So this schedule it remains the same except for the fourth bullet from the bottom. The draft UTP was not presented to the commission in May, but it will be presented in June. And they still have plenty of time to go through the mandated public comment period starting in June and July. And after all that is completed, then the final UTP is approved by the commission in August. So the only real delay has been in presenting the draft UTP to the commission from May to June, which is presented next week.
Thank you.
Mr. Caldwell, do you know if the money that was earmarked for the I-35 has been redirected to other projects?
No. My understanding is that if you're referring to the $3.4 billion that was programmed for the I-35 project in Austin, that was done under the fiscal year 20 UTP. In other words, the current UTP. So as far as I understand, or as far as I know, that funding is still there on that project, and that's where it stands.
Will we have an idea as to when and if they do change their mind? Will you do you foresee that in the near future, or are you going to stick with it?
Well, I wish I knew what the commission would do. Based on what I heard, and the way that the funds were programmed to that project, I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think they're going to change their minds unless something major happens as far as funding. But when that amendment to the UTP happened, in other words, programming the funding for that project, the decision was not unanimous. If I remember correctly, Commissioner New voted against it, and then Commissioner Ryan, even though she voted for it, but she had a lot of questions about it changing their minds later, given that the project is not going to construction in the next couple of years. I think it was programmed for the fiscal year 2024. So yeah, I mean, there's still opportunities for the commission to change their minds, but but it sounded like it's gonna stick for a while. The decision, I mean.
Sure, appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Eduardo?
All right, so then let's move on to the executive director's report. I just have a couple of quick comments. For the Border Trade Advisory Committee meeting, this meeting was held on Wednesday, and I'm very happy to report that the membership from El Paso was there in full. I mean, all 5 members of BTAC attended, including you, Mr. Chair, David Coronado from the city, John Varela from Borderplex, and Rafael Aldrete from TTI, and myself. So it was good. Most of the meeting was dedicated to discussing the border, the Texas-Mexico Transportation Border Master Plan. TxDOT is really on a tight schedule to complete this first round or the first part of the Border Master Plan. They're showing that they want to present the Border Master Plan, the report to the Commission in September. So there's not a lot of time to do more work. There has been a lot of information so far, general information about population, employment, about the need of understanding some of the movements, the cross-border movements, and all that. But I think all of us are a little bit anxious also to start thinking more in terms of projects, because at the end of the day, the Border Master Plan will evaluate and prioritize projects. Internally, we've had a couple of conversations with our local stakeholders, with the city and TxDOT, in terms of trying to understand really what this Border Master Plan is intending to do. But given the time frame between now and September, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of focus on specific projects on the Border Master Plan. Again, so part of the discussion that we had locally is how does the Border Master Plan relate to our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and trying to understand how the two processes work together. So Border Master Plan is not necessarily a funding process. Border Master Plan will be making recommendations, and of course, whatever is recommended in the Border Master Plan will carry a lot of weight at the project level to get funding for these projects. But once funding or these recommendations and funding recommendations are made, then these individual projects have to go through the MPOs and so that they can get developed and implemented. So I think there's still some questions that we have in terms of process that we'll be asking TxDOT, the TPMP folks that are leading the Border Master Plan, and hopefully we can get some clarification soon. For those that attended BTAC, I don't know if you guys have any other comments or anything else you want to share. All right. So the next item, just very briefly, the El Paso Chamber, Leadership El Paso, just to let you know, we were invited by the Chamber. Eddie Valtier from TxDOT and myself, we were in a panel that was moderated by Representative Lina Ortega. And again, this is part of the Leadership El Paso Academy. Last Friday when we met, that day was dedicated to transportation infrastructure and transportation issues. So former Chairman Ted Houghton also participated in one of the sessions, and different folks. So just wanted to give kudos also to Rep Ortega for doing a good job in moderating, and Eddie and I were there providing information, and just say it was a very enjoyable experience. That's all I have as far as the report, Mr. Chair. There's just one more announcement that I just got a notice from TxDOT, just to give everybody a heads up. that on Sunday, both directions of I-10 will be closed from Sunland Park to Executive Center. I'm sorry, tomorrow, not Sunday, tomorrow, Saturday, from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday. So this is a 25 or 27 hour closure. Eddie or Jennifer, you want to confirm that?
Can you hear me if I speak? Am I unmuted? I am? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Yes, hanging beams finally over the Mesa Park interchange will cause I-10 to be closed Saturday all day from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday morning. And that's because the contractor wanted everybody free on Father's Day. So that's why we'll have to put up with it on a Saturday. The Border West is the best alternate route to take. I would not recommend Mesa at this time.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. So that's all we have.
Sure. Thank you.
All I have as far as the executive director's report.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members on the report? I will make one announcement to add on to the executive director's report. Next month, the TPB will be selecting a new chair and vice chair. Traditionally, the TPB has rotated to give each of the various entities on the board an opportunity to serve in these capacities. And traditionally, the vice chair has also taken over as chair. I believe the next entity that is doing the rotation for vice chair is the legislature. Is that correct, Eduardo?
I believe so.
For Representative Moody served as chair before, did a great job. Again, that's been the tradition of here at this particular MPO, but just wanted to give members the opportunity to just let you know that's coming up at the next meeting. And we'll mail the gavel to whoever's selected. With that, the next regular meeting of the TPB is scheduled for 9 a.m. on July 17, 2020. The due date for submittal of agenda items, names of speakers, attachments, or items for presentations, project request forms are due no later than July 8, 2020 by 3 p.m. If there are no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Representative Rivera.
There's a motion by Representative Rivera. There's no second. We can stay here. Yeah.
Second.
Second by Representative Gonzalez. Any members of the TPB opposed to this item? To adjournment? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Okay. Thank you to staff. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.